Good afternoon, everyone. We are rapidly moving towards the end of the book of Joshua. And today we have a fairly interesting chapter to deal with right after the disbursement or the allocation of the parcels of land. We're here in Joshua chapter 22. And then Joshua called the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh. This would be the eastern tribes, and said to them, "You have kept all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you." Now, what is important here is that we need to remember at the early days, they have actually accepted what Moses told them to do was that when they were allocated the land on the eastern shore of the Jordan, that they are to join their brothers in arms to conquer the western side of the Jordan. And so they have done all that. They have obeyed my voice in all that I commanded you. So after Moses died, they also followed Joshua as Moses. You have not left your brethren these many days and up to this day, but have kept the charge of the commandment of the Lord your God to fight with the brethren. And now the Lord your God has given rest to your brethren. Now, this is important. I guess you could say the the meaning here is rest from the wars, from wars. And this would be no that they have done all they could, but they haven't finished the job yet. But at least at this point in time, they don't have to fight anymore. And individual tribes may have to resolve some of their own internal strife. And as they stopped fighting, the parcels of land were distributed as God promised them. Now, therefore, return, go to your tents. Now, in verse 4, when it says return, this idea here is to turn to, turn to. It is not the regular word shuv, but to turn towards and to go back to your tents or to go back. And so this would be to the eastern side of the Jordan because they had possessed the land, Gad, Reuben, and half tribe of Manasseh that the Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you on the other side of the Jordan, that would be east. But take careful heed. Now, verse 5 is important. Only be very careful to guard, to do the commandment and the law which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. And this is important because it's been repeated in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5, and it keeps repeating itself. To love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to keep his commandments, to hold fast to him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. Now, these are strict words to maintain order in the land. They are to protect the commandments of God and to do them. And so, with these words being said, Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their tents, and this would be the east of Jordan. Now, what we have in the rest of this chapter will be some curious incidents which turned out to be a massive misunderstanding. In verse 7, it says, to the half tribe of Manasseh, Moses had given a possession in Bashan. Now remember, when we talked about this half tribe of Manasseh in a possession in Bashan, it is to defend the eastern front. And to the other half of Manasseh, Joshua gave a possession among the brethren on this side of the Jordan, westward, and that's west of Jordan. And indeed, when Joshua sent them away to their tents, he blessed them, and everything was well and fine, and spoke to them, saying, return with much riches to your tents. Now, verse 8 talks about riches. Now, where did they get all the treasures and wealth? This is wealth. This is from all the wars. These are the booty. Very much livestock, a lot of the livestock, a lot of silver, gold, bronze, iron, and a lot of clothing. And then divide the spoil of your enemies with your brethren. So when you talk about the spoil, this is the plunder. And so this wealth is actually the plunder from the hostile forces that they had defeated on the western shore of the Jordan, and this would be their possession. Verse 9, the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, half tribe of Manasseh, returned. And so this word return is shuv. It is to go back to their original. Now, the original is the eastern shore. And so they departed from the children of Israel at Shiloh. And eventually, the tabernacle is at Shiloh. So the children of Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh left the children of Israel at Shiloh in the land of Canaan. And then they went back to the country of Gilead, to land of their possession, which they had obtained according to the word of the Lord by the hand of Moses. From verse 10, a grave misunderstanding occurs. When they, the 2.5 tribes, came to the region of Jordan, which is in the land of Canaan. Now, this is important. This is by the western shore of Jordan. It is in the land of Canaan. Before they went home, before they crossed the river, we see this happening. The children of Reuben, children of Gad, half tribe of Manasseh, what did they do? They built an altar there by the Jordan, a great, impressive altar. And this, I'd like to spend a little bit of time explaining. They built a great, impressive altar. The word here is great to the sight. That's why the translator used the word impressive. It is by looking at the altar that it is great, it is big, it's huge. That's what it means. Altar is the normal word, a place where people use it for sacrifices. But in this particular case, they built an extremely huge one, which really can't be used for sacrificing, but they built it anyways. Now the children of Israel, those who are at Shiloh, heard. It says, behold, the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, the half tribe of Manasseh, they have done this. They have built an altar on the frontier of the land of Canaan, the region of the Jordan, on the children of Israel's side. So if you think of it, this would be the way. This is the Jordan, and this is the frontier. This is the front of Canaan. This is the east of Jordan. And where did they build that altar? They built a big altar right here. And that's what it meant. And what happened was, after building it, the children of Israel heard of it. The whole congregation of the children of Israel gathered together at Shiloh to go to war against them. Now, this is a very serious event. In verse 12, after they heard of it, this is just hearsay, right? And people those days are very passionate. The moment they heard that there was an altar built in the front of Canaan, right here, they reacted, and this is what we will call a knee-jerk reaction. They went to Shiloh and they wanted to go to war against them. It's that serious in the eyes of the children of Israel. By the children of Israel, these would be the 9.5 tribes on this side of the Jordan. In verse 13, they had decided that they are not just to react immediately, just to go and send armies to fight them. We have this, and then they decided to do something first and to avoid a mistake of a wrong war. And so the children of Israel, they sent. Now the word sent is shalak, to send, to represent. I think that would be a way of looking at this. To represent. And who did they send? They sent the son of Eleazar. This is Pinchas, the son of El-Adzar, the high priest, to the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. And they went to the land of Gilead to meet with them. Now notice, there were 10 rulers, one ruler each from the chief house of every tribe of Israel, and each one was the head of the house of his father among the divisions of Israel. Now, although the balance in the western front is 9.5 tribes, they are equivalent to 10 leaders on this side of the Jordan. And so they came to the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh to the land of Gilead, and they spoke with them, saying, now this is important because they are trying to find out to avert a war. An all-out war, by the way, the civil war is something which nobody wants to fight, but they felt that it was so important that they must deal with this issue of this great big altar built on the frontier, the front of the land of Canaan. We are at verse 16. Now, in verse 16, we now will find what they are trying to describe. Thus says the whole congregation of the Lord. This would be the children of Israel. He says, what treachery? Now, understand this treachery. This treachery is ma'al. What unfaithful act? Unfaithful act. And this would be an act against God. Against God. That you have committed. This word here says, what unfaithful act against God have you become unfaithful? This is the way the Hebrew works, telling them that whatever they have done is considered unfaithful against the God of Israel. And it says here to turn away from following the Lord. And this is to return to a position of unfaithfulness. And they are accused by the 10 leaders plus Pinchas in that you have built for yourselves an altar. And by doing that, they consider these 2.5 tribes as rebelling this day against the Lord. Now, this idea of rebel is an act of revolt. What does that mean? It's an act of rejecting God. Now, remember, in the book of Deuteronomy, God says, I will show you the land, I'll show you the place that is where you will serve me. But then these 2.5 tribes built an altar on the western side of the Jordan, on the easternmost frontier of the land of Canaan. And they were wondering, this is so strange. If this was really a big altar to sacrifice, this altar is not in the land of the 2.5 tribes. It is still in the land of Canaan. But as a knee-jerk reaction, the rest of the 9.5 tribes wanted to attack them. And so they are saying, is the iniquity of Peor not enough for us as 24,000 died, right? 24,000 died. And you can read this in Numbers 24, verses 1 to 9. They are always remembering this, that they have followed after other gods. This was the result of Baal the Bilam or Balaam, from which we are not cleansed till this day, as though there was a plague in the congregation of the Lord. So you must turn away this day from following the Lord. Are you just ignoring what happened at Peor? And it shall be, if you rebel today against the Lord, that tomorrow God will be angry with all of us. And so the reason why they wanted to go and deal with the situation is that they remember what happened in Peor. 24,000 Israelites died. And so it is not about you. You rebel, God will be angry with everyone of Israel. And so they are very mindful. Just because a handful of people may have gone out to sin, but God will deal fairly with the entire 12 tribes. And so they are remembering that. So, verse 19. Nevertheless, if the land of your possession is unclean, means it's contaminated by the Amorites with all their idols, then cross over to the land of the possession of the Lord, where the Lord's tabernacle stands. This is Shiloh. And take possession among us. What does that mean? It means that these 9.5 tribes are saying, if you have problems with your land on the western side, come over we will redivide the land. Instead of 9.5 parcels, we will divide into 12. But do not rebel against the Lord. Do not rebel against us by building yourselves an altar besides the altar of the Lord our God. This altar of the Lord our God is at the tabernacle. That's all God wanted them to do. And so the 10 tribes says, did not Achan, the son of Zerah, commit a trespass in the accursed thing, an abomination? Wrath fell on all the congregation of Israel, and that man did not perish alone in his iniquity. What does that mean? Now, in this particular, I guess you can say, in this particular instance, in this particular instance, they are duly reminded that their their treachery ahead in the early days with Achan, right? They not only he died, but there were many people in the congregation of Israel died with him. So that's a second one. This is A, and this is B. And so now we have this issue that we need to deal with. Uh, they are duly reminded that God is going to deal with all 12 tribes. If any one of the tribes refuse to obey God and revolt against God, and they have stated at Gilead very much the fear of the children of Israel after they heard that they have built a great, humongous altar. So in verse 21, they explain themselves. Verse 21 starts with, and then, after they have made their case, the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, half tribe of Manasseh, replied and said to the heads of the divisions of Israel, or the heads of the divisions of Israel, heads of the, well, we say, of the thousand, right? This word is 1,000 of Israel. And let us see what is being said. If you look at the English, it says, the Lord God of gods and the Lord God of gods. He knows, let Israel itself know, if it is in rebellion or in treachery against the Lord, do not save us this day. Let me just break down this first phrase a little bit. It says, Jehovah El Elohim. That's what it means. The God uh, of, this would be powerful ones. In the Hebrew, it is El Elohim. It is not God of gods in the modern sense of the word. Elohim literally means powerful ones. The El of Elohim, the God of powerful ones. And it is repeated twice for emphasis, right? For emphasis. El Elohim. And then he knows. And let Israel know, so that God, whatever God knows, let Israel herself know. And this is the statement, bold statements by Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh. If we have done rebellion, if we have revolted, if we have rejected the authority of God, if we are doing unfaithfulness against the Lord, then do not save us, do not help us, do not deliver us. Because they say that if they actually are in rebellion, then let them die. And so then they went on. If we have built ourselves an altar to turn from following the Lord, if we have intended to build ourselves an altar and we turn from following God, or if to offer on it burnt offerings or grain offerings or peace offerings on it, meaning they're saying if we had done this to rebel against God, that we intend to do burnt offerings, grain offerings, and peace offering, then they are bold to say, let the Lord himself require an account. Now, there is no word called account, but require. And by implication, to exact punishment. They are willing to be subjected to the fair treatment of God's judgment. And so they are very bold that the altar, the great, humongous altar they built, was actually not a rebellion. It was never intended for sacrifices. And so they are not afraid to say, if they did it, let God strike us dead. But in fact, we have done it for fear, for a reason, saying, and this is the reason they built the great, big, humongous altar. In time to come, your descendants will speak to our descendants, saying, what have you to do with the Lord God of Israel? What does that mean? It means that if they, in days to come with their descendants, and they look over to the other side of the Jordan, they might say, hey, you guys on the other side of the Jordan, you have nothing to do with us on the western side. And so the Lord has made the Jordan a border to split us. You are children of Reuben and of Gad. You have no part in the Lord. And they were afraid that that could happen in the future. And so they built this huge, big, and beautiful altar as a memorial. That is what it means. And so they continue. So your descendants will make our descendants cease fearing the Lord. And so if in the days to come, the descendants of the tribes in Canaan says to across the river, we don't know you anymore, then our descendants will stop fearing God. And that would be bad. And so they had decided, let us now prepare to build ourselves an altar, not for burnt offering or sacrifice, but in verse 27, as a witness. Chelek, as a witness, as, how should we say, between you and us and our generations after us, that we may perform service of the Lord before him with our burnt offerings, our sacrifices, and peace offering, that your descendants may not say to our descendants in time, you have no part in the Lord. So they are really saying this is for an a witness. This is a reminder of this day that we are on the eastern side of the Jordan for a reason. And so do not ever forget that we are also your brothers in the nation of Israel. In verse 28, it says, therefore we have said that it will be when they say to us or to our generations in time to come, then we will reply, here is a replica of the altar of the Lord which our fathers made. Though not for burnt offerings or sacrifices, it is a witness between you and us. A witness to bear testimony. A witness to say that this is what has happened. Far be it from us that we should rebel against the Lord and turn from following the Lord this day to build an altar for all the offerings. Says all the altar is for memorial, to remind everyone in days to come, do not forget us. And there is only the altar of the Lord our God before his tabernacle. That was what God has ordered. And so this altar, which they built, huge and big, serves as a reminder. Now in verse 30, it says, when Pinchas, the priest and the rulers of the congregation, these are the 10 rulers. Remember, 10 tribes or 9.5 tribes, equivalent to 10, 10 leaders of the heads of this word, thousands, is thousands. This word is thousands of Israel who were with him, heard the words that he had, the children of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh spoke. It pleased them. And this one, you have to see the Hebrew. The word please them literally means it was good in their eyes. So good and evil is always in the eyes of the beholder. This is a very important concept, actually, so that you understand that good and evil is not because of how we define it today, but actually it has to be seen from the eyes of the beholder. And so, who were these? These were the 10 rulers and Pinchas, and they were happy because in their eyes, the children of Reuben, children of Gad, and children of Manasseh, when they spoke, they were quite okay with that. And so it says here, uh, Pinchas, the son of Elzah, the priest said to the children of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, this day we perceive that the Lord is among us. Now, the idea of perceive is know. This day we know that the Lord is in our midst. In our midst. Because you have not committed this treachery against the Lord. Again, the word treachery, unfaithfulness against God. No rebellion. You have delivered the children of Israel out of the hand of the Lord. What does that mean? It means that when they were so fearful, had these 2.5 tribes did anything wrong against God, God will take punishment on all 12 tribes. Verse 32. It says here, and Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, and the rulers, they returned from the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, and from the land of Gilead to the land of Canaan, and to the children of Israel, and brought back word to them. Gives you a little picture of the earlier Numbers chapter 13, when they sent in spies to decide whether to conquer the land or not. But this time round, they really needed to sort this out because they were ready for a civil war. And so the thing pleased the children of Israel. Again, this word pleased the children of Israel literally means in verse 33, it is good in the eyes. So in the eyes, good in the eyes. Very similar to this particular aspect. Uh, Pleased with them, good in the eyes, pleased with the children of Israel. So they are the same expression, whether where Pinchas and the 10 rulers was good in their eyes, and they went to speak to the children of Israel, and the children of Israel confessed that this was also good in their eyes. And the children of Israel blessed God. Now, this idea of blessed God in verse 33, it literally means to say good things. Say good things about God, right? Say good things about God. They spoke no more of going against them, which is the war, to destroy the land where the children of Reuben and Gad dwelled. And so they had removed their knee-jerk reaction. We come to our end of this chapter. The children of Reuben, the children of Gad, call the altar. Now, this idea of call the altar is to give name. Now, remember, in Hebrew context, giving names is often a sign of a memorial, something to remember by. And so, in this case, they gave it a name to the altar because it is a witness between us and the Lord. And the Lord, the God, right? The Lord, the God, or Lord God. So it should be Jehovah Ha Elohim. This is what it means. God, who is the God. So the Lord is the God. This is an acknowledgement. This is an acknowledgement of a testimonial, a witness, a testimonial. So that in future days to come, when people see this altar, they remember that there is 2.5 tribes on the other side of the Jordan as well. And so we come to a close in chapter 22 by looking at a very serious event where it almost launched a civil war, but it didn't. Because what the explanation was a simple and straightforward explanation. It is not for sacrifice. It looks like an altar, it's huge and big, but it's really meant as a reminder to the future generations of the children of Israel to remember that they are brethren on the other side of the Jordan. And with this, we come to the end of our session today.